Is liberty dying where you live? Escape to Keene at freekeene.com.
That looks pretty cool.
Glad to see all these shining smiley faces and so many peaceful folk out to enjoy the movie. They're about to press the play button, so you know all the yada yada about your cell phones and whatnot. So enjoy the film, and we'll be doing a Q&A afterwards, so I hope you're able to stick around. And after that, we're going to have some fun in the park. So just enjoy, and we'll see you after the show. Hi, I'm Derrick J. I'm an activist originally from Philadelphia. To me, an activist's calling is to act.
So, again, thank you again for everybody for coming out bright and early this morning here to the Keene Cinemas, and thanks to Keene Cinemas for having this event here, which was fantastic. They did a great job. So really appreciate everybody showing up. I did a count, and we had about 47 people in the theater this morning, which, you know, not bad for 9 a.m. on a Saturday morning. And again, thanks to everybody for coming out. I don't know, is there anything that you want to just, you know, throw out there before we open it up to questions?
Yeah, well, sure. Well, first I wanted to let people know that you know, some of the shots in this movie are hard to follow. A lot of them are shaky. Wanted to let you know that this wasn't originally intended to be a film. It just sort of ended up happening that way. So just wanted to let you know if you had any questions about, like, well, who was your cameraman? Why are some of those shots so darn shaky? Like when I was in Philadelphia, that's because I was just walking around with some of my personal, like, wearable video cameras. So wanted to let folks know about that first.
Well, sometimes when you're in a situation where there are aggressors who are threatening to put you in a cage, and if it's cold out on top of that, you know, the adrenaline is flowing, and it is hard to keep a steady shot. So that's understandable, and I don't think it, you know, really detracted from the film at all. I think it's an impactful movie, which I heard a lot of laughter in the audience. I don't know if anyone cried today, but it's definitely a movie that can work your emotions, and I think that it's very successful at doing that.
Yeah, well, great. So yeah, hopefully it wasn't a deterrent having the shaky cams.
So if anybody has any questions, feel free, come on up to this microphone. Don't be shy. Brad Jardis coming up here, all the way up. You probably came the farthest. I don't know, from what, the North Country to come out here today?
Basically Canada, eh?
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's right. Kelly Voluntarius too was one of the stars of the film. She came all the way from Arizona to come out here. So yeah, throw out the question, go for it. And in case you don't know, this is Derrick J. Freeman. I'm Ian Freeman. I produced the movie, and of course he's the star.
So here's my question for you, Derrick. In New Hampshire, using a vehicle against somebody is considered deadly force. And the way you were arrested by Officer Moore, I have questions whether or not the police can lawfully detain someone to hand you paperwork because of a federal case, but they certainly can't detain you to hand you paperwork that you've been handed earlier in the day. So my question to you is, have you considered suing the Keene police? Not that you want to make it personal, but I think the only way that change is really going to happen at the boots on the ground law enforcement level is if financial pressure is put on the local municipalities, and I think that if they were to get away with behaving like this, I think it would be very unjust. So I'm just interested in what you think.
Thank you for your question, Brad, and thanks for coming out all the way from Canada today, basically. Yeah, that's a great question, and it's a question I get a lot. I hope everyone was able to hear it. Basically, it was, why have I considered suing individuals or the Keene Police Department for the way in which I was detained, at least during the Moore arrest, at the end where I was riding my bicycle there. And the short answer is yes. Yes, I've considered suing them because, of course, I feel like I was wronged and assaulted. I even said that on video, you know, while it was happening. You just assaulted me. And I don't think it would be inappropriate because, of course, people respond to incentives. And if I am just, you know, part of me wants to just turn the other cheek and say, okay, I'm going to be the better person here, take the moral high ground and just say what you did was wrong and I can just forgive you and move on. But if the Keene Police keep aggressing against people, I really feel like something has to be done to let them know that peaceful people are going to take it and that there are going to be peaceful consequences. A lot of lawyers have emailed me, and after they see the film and they say, you know, like, you really have to do something. So yeah, that's something I'm considering, but I don't know step one, you know.
Maybe Brad could move to Keene and help us with that process.
That would be awesome, Brad. How about it? So yeah, if anyone knows anything about how, I don't know step one, honestly, about filing paperwork or doing whatever it needs to be done to sue somebody. That's just not my bag. But if someone is more knowledgeable in that area, yeah, email me at derrickjfreeman@gmail.com.
Lauren Canario.
Woo!
Well, to your credit, Derrick, that you don't know anything about suing people. Very good. I was impressed with how you always brought out the message of peace and nonviolence, and asked everyone else to participate in the peacefulness, and I think that's great. And I was wondering, my question is that you're going to be on your exile tour soon, and you're probably thinking about all the details about that. I was wondering about after the exile. Are you still thinking of coming back to Keene?
Oh yes, thank you for the question, Lauren. Yes, I will be back in Keene. There is no question in my mind. I came here and, you know, I was inspired by the videos of freedom activists like yourself, Lauren. You know, seeing those videos is so inspiring, and so I definitely had to move here. I still feel the same way about Keene. I absolutely love it. I love the community here. It's unparalleled in anything that I've experienced before, and I feel unsafe right now. It stinks that I feel like I have to leave this area that I love so dearly because I'm in constant fear that the Keene Police are going to come and aggress against me again, and they could aggress for any reason. Those of us who have had interactions with law enforcement know that they do whatever they want and they ask questions later, and so you know, that's a dangerous position for someone to be in who has a suspended sentence of, you know, 3 years in jail. So I'm not going to do that. I'm going to stay away for a little while, and then I will be back in New Hampshire, no question. Thanks, Lauren.
We have Kelly Voluntarius, who was in the film and was arrested with Derrick and I at the courthouse arrest. In fact, Kelly and I, just as an aside, will be having a trial on Monday morning at 10 a.m. at Keene District Court. So if you're in town, feel free to stop in and see us there. Kelly.
Yes. Hey, Derrick.
Get close on that mic, please, so our
Derrick.
listeners at home can hear you.
Okay, check, check. So I've been a little bit out of the loop back in Arizona, so I was wondering what the schedule for your exile tour is.
Oh, well, thanks for asking. Yeah, the schedule for the exile tour, it began August 18th in Washington, D.C. with the Raw Milk Freedom Rally. Those of you who are subscribed to my YouTube channel can check that out, or you can check it out on my libertyontour.com blog and also livefreeordance.com. But then I was invited by Adam Kokesh of Adam vs. the Man to come and participate in Washington, D.C. on a 20-minute, 5-day-a-week comedy news show. And I am looking forward to that opportunity over the next 4 months. When I realized I was going to be in DC for 4 months, though, I said, oh my gosh, I only have until December 20th to finish my community service hours, to pay off this fine. That's why, in addition to being here for the premiere, that's why I'm in New Hampshire, was to finish my community service hours. And I just accomplished that yesterday. Yesterday I just finished up. And so I'll be heading to DC again Tuesday. And on weekends I'll be able to tour some parts of the country. And folks can follow along at libertyontour.com. Yeah, so thank you.
Rich Paul, come on up. Don't be shy.
Hi, this is as much an announcement, or more an announcement than a question, but if people here are interested in seeing more activism like this going on, I'm facing 5 felony charges right now, and for distribution of marijuana. We've just had a manufacturer of marijuana charge nullified by a jury. That means, thank you, jury. Thank you, Kathleen Converse, for inspiring them too.
There was a Free State Project participant on that jury that nullified.
Kathleen Converse is a Free Stater who talked the rest of the jury into nullifying. I'm going to be trying to do the same thing. I'm going to be saying ignore the facts of the case and judge the law wrong. And what I need in order to encourage jurors to do that is to have a lot of activists out there, a lot of people showing that this is an important issue to them. And in order for that to happen, I'm asking people here both to come out for the event and also donate to the 420 Foundation, which is coordinating my defense, and that's at 420foundation.chipin.com.
Awesome.
Great.
And what is the date again on that trial, Rich?
I'm not exactly sure. I believe it's September 26th, which is kind of funny because it's the anniversary of my very first arrest at the 420 rally. But there are Facebook events for both of these, so look for Rich Paul jury selection and Rich Paul final pre-trial hearing. Also like the 420 Foundation on Facebook, and that'll help you keep up with what's going on.
Cool. 420 Foundation on Facebook.
So I have a question for you, Derrick, while we wait for someone else. I don't know if Michelle Seven was going to come up here. She looked like she was. You can come up now if you want. Yeah, please don't hold back.
Just form a line.
If there are that many questions. Go ahead, Michelle Seven.
Hi.
So I have 2 questions. One, in what ways do you feel as though your activism created greater freedom for more people than just yourself, maybe? And 2, what do you say to people who, whether within this community or outside this community, who are going to be watching your video, who might say, I don't know, not be critical necessarily, but think you guys are dealing with first world problems. You are talking about wanting to smoke pot in Central Square when in Sudan, 8-year-old children are being required to club their mothers to death or cut off their father's hands in front of them, which is clearly, much greater crime than being restricted from smoking weed in Central Square. So what do you say to those people? And then the first question was, how do you feel that your activism has increased liberty and freedom for more than just yourself?
Beautiful. Thank you so much for your questions, Michelle Seven, and another one of the featured participants in the film. So the 2 questions. The first one was, how has my activism enhanced the freedoms of others? And my answer to that is that freedom is always within. Freedom's always inside of you. So there's nothing that I could do to give you more freedom because it's always inside of you. But the things that I think I've done is remind people what they already know, that they do have the freedom to act as they see fit and to act on their conscience. And I think it's encouraging for others to see people acting free. So that's, answer the first question for you, Michelle, is that, I haven't enhanced freedom for others. They can only do it for themselves, and so hopefully by watching the film or by seeing that people are acting free, then they will be inspired to do the same. And the second, remind me, it was about...
First world problems.
Oh yeah, first world problems. Sure, well, you know, I'm from the first world. So these are the types of problems that I tackle. It wouldn't feel right for me to pull a George Clooney and go to Sudan and, like, sure, I care about human problems everywhere, but those aren't the things that I interact with. I feel like it's important to handle the issues that are relevant to my life. And
well, we can have the biggest effect on the area in which we live. And you know, I've come up against this objection as well. Well, why don't you guys care more about people around the world? It's not that I don't care about those people, it's that I can only affect my little corner of it, and I want to do everything I can to help the people that are in my little corner of the world. And to say that you know, the first world doesn't have legitimate problems is not fair, because, you know, we're dealing with issues like drug prohibition, where people are having their lives destroyed on a regular basis. They're being put in cages, they're being separated from their families, they're being taken away from their jobs, and in some cases killed because of drug prohibition. So to minimize that is really insulting to those, you know, 1.5 million people who had their lives destroyed or disturbed significantly just within the last year. And so I don't think it's fair to you know, to say that people around the world, you know, their problems are more important than the problems that we're having here. So we can only focus on so much. Bo Davis just walked in, so I'm glad that we can have him joining us. There is a third chair out there. If somebody wants to grab that other folding chair right outside at the table, that little card table out there, that way Bo can have a seat up here. If somebody can handle that, that'd be great. There is a third microphone, I think, down there on the ground. Bo Davis is the editor of this film, and he did this for pennies. He, you know, is a professional. Bo went to college in Florida. Was it Fort Myers? Which college did you go to?
Art Institute of Fort Lauderdale.
Art Institute of Fort Lauderdale, and so he's professionally trained at this editing thing, and he did an absolutely splendid job, and did it for next to zero. I mean, it was a little bit more than zero, but not much. The total budget of this whole film, including the equipment that we used to do the editing, it was $2,000. So, Bo, thank you for putting countless hours into making this the fantastic presentation that it is.
Well, not a problem. I really appreciate, like, everything.
Close.
Oh,
just talk real close.
All right, okay,
thanks.
No, and Derrick had done all, you know, shot all this video and done all this activism and everything for the year that he was here, and it was a really awesome experience to be able to cut all this stuff together and tie this story up. So I really appreciated every little bit of intricacy you've put into your life and documenting it and just creating this wonderful experience to share.
Well, yeah, then thanks for putting it all together, Bo.
So we still have time for more questions. Allie Havens.
I have a question for Derrick and Bo. My question to Derrick is, I think everyone's sort of wondering, how did you remain so positive throughout all of this? Like, do you have tips or techniques for getting through these types of things? And my question to Bo is, where do you see this film going?
Sure. Thank you for your question, Allie. How did I stay so positive throughout these events and continuing, you know, throughout jail and onward? I think having an attitude of positivity takes practice and focus. I've heard the example that our minds are like gardens, and if one isn't constantly weeding the garden, then weeds are going to just naturally grow, and a negative attitude can sort of just take over. I've found that to be true in my life, and so my tips that you ask for are just to be mindful of where you are, what you're doing, and that this too shall pass. So when there are bad things happening, like I said, I was really scared when I was going into jail, but it sure did pass. Here I am out of jail now, so everything's fine. And just remembering that everything's okay.
You know, if I can add to that a little bit, I feel like you kind of have to almost observe your mind to some extent. And when those negative weeds, if you will, come up, you have to pluck them. And mentally, you know, that means shifting away from the negative thoughts that might be coming in and choosing positive ones instead. And for me, that's been really effective over time. And it is something that takes practice.
And as far as where I see the movie going, honestly, I didn't. I mean, I anticipated the amount of coverage it was going to get on the internet, and I really saw like it's funny looking at it now. I see like 20,000 hits on there, and it's really exciting, you know. Like, and then to see this many people out here for the premiere, it's really a wonderful thing. I think it's only going to get bigger, and I see producing more of these types of films. Honestly, I think there ought to be a prequel and a sequel to this thing. So, I think it's going to go big, and a lot of people are going to be inspired by the activism that's happened here.
Yeah, absolutely. I like the idea of the sequel, and one of the reasons why I registered victimlesscrimespree.com instead of Derrick J's victimlesscrimespree.com, besides it being shorter and easier to remember, is that, you know, there's no reason why we couldn't have Rich Paul's Victimless Crime Spree, or, you know, whoever else might be the next civil disobedience star, if you will. So who knows? Well, we don't know what's going to come in the future for this, but or at least as far as other films are concerned. But as far as Derrick J's Victimless Crime Spree is concerned, I'm proud to announce that yesterday I signed the agreement for the DVD. So it's coming to DVD. That'll be happening later this year, because, you know, it's old media, so it takes time to make these things happen. You know, Bo is going to be working. He actually just put the finishing touches on the director's cut, which is a little bit different. You know, we trimmed a few scenes back, and we added a few scenes in. Let's see, there's new music in the director's cut, so it's going to be a completely new soundtrack. And one of the things that's nice about that is the director's cut edition will have what's called royalty-free music. So you'll be able to take that version and you know, display it in a movie theater, or you'd be able to you know, sell it or whatever, and nobody on the soundtrack is going to have a problem with that. So that's an important thing. So like if we want to get on Netflix, it's got to have that royalty-free music. And the distributor that we're picking up for the DVD has, you know, the connections that are necessary. I can't say for sure we're going to make it on Netflix at this point, but it becomes more possible. Like that we actually have an actual disc that can be sent to them. That's important. Amazon, I believe, will be carrying the product, so we'll know more as we get closer to the release date, which should be sometime in January of 2013 for the director's cut on DVD. And of course, you know, like any good DVD, we'll put the activism scenes that were long, obviously, much longer than what you saw in the film. We're going to try to put as many of those on the disc as possible. If this interview here turns out decent, I don't know about the lighting situation, but if it turns out all right, we'll put that on the disc. And we are, after this today, after the lunch in the park, by the way, hopefully you'll join us for that, the three of us are going to go and record a commentary track for the film. So that's, you know, it's kind of the fun DVD things that some people like to see. We're going to have all that. So, if there are any other questions, I think we may see somebody in the back there who does. That's excellent. Come right on up, and then we'll just wrap this up after any other questions that y'all might have. And I believe was it Greg, if I'm recalling correctly? Feel free to tilt that mic up towards you there, since you're pretty tall. Thank you.
I really like the part with the thanks but no tanks part. I was wondering if you could go through that sequence of events of how you got that to work well, and how someone could use that as a kind of a template to do activism in their area.
Okay, well, yeah, thanks Greg, for the question. And it was about how did thanksbutnotanks.com come about.
I imagine, like, how is it a successful campaign?
Right. Well, I don't know how I initially heard about the tank coming to town. Does anyone? I mean, I'm sure with an audience like this, someone remembers how the first news of it came about. I guess it was through Clarky, who heard that his dad had said no. He had been the only no vote against the tank, And it started with that and a petition that he ran where he got 400 signatures plus signed from members of the community. Right?
It was one of those things that all happened, but it's such a big, the Thanks But No Tanks campaign is such a, it's so wide in scope. It's hard to say that, you know, there wasn't one person orchestrating that and saying, well, you go do this and then you go do that. It was kind of like the premiere of this film where we put it out there that this was going to happen, and then I didn't tell Garrett Ian to go out and start chalking, or Daryl to go out and chalk on the sidewalks in downtown Keene to advertise this film happening. So the same thing with Thanks But No Tanks is that what we have, and one of the strengths of this movement is the Liberty Movement in New Hampshire, is that it's decentralized. So yes, we're all combining our efforts in one geographic location, but nobody's in charge. So everybody just does what they think is most effective. So Clarkey, did the petition, and a bunch of people went out, including myself. We went out and we got those petition signatures. There were flyers that were printed up. Jason Talley came up with thanksbutnotanks.com. And there was media being produced in various different aspects, going out to various different delivery methods, from YouTube to Free Keene TV. And it's just, you can't even really put your thumb on any one thing or one person that did it. And of course, ultimately, they got the tank anyway. But there was a lot of outreach and a lot of, I think the success of the Thanks But No Tanks campaign was that most people agreed with it. The supermajority of people in town, something like 80–90% of people in Keene were on board. So whether they're left or right or neither, a lot of folks were on board with us with the idea of rejecting that. So there's no one answer to that question.
Well, yeah, I see it. It was. You mentioned there were so many different facets, so many parts going into that campaign. That really is like the beauty. That is the fact that it wasn't. None of us really felt alone in our efforts. We really. I mean, even though they got the tank or whatever, I think we set a precedent in the town.
Well, not a precedent in the town, but also a precedent nationwide, in that Keene was the very first place that Lenco, the company that manufactures these tanks, that Lenco had ever had any kind of pushback. No one anywhere else besides Keene ever had any kind of organized, in any fashion, opposition to this thing. And they even brought their head salesman into one of those city council meetings to where he could, try to keep the sale, basically, because they were nervous they were going to lose the sale. And the head salesman told me they'd never experienced anything like what happened here. And I know that wouldn't have been possible without some of the great folks that are in this audience tonight, or today. It's the morning still. So we're almost out of time here. I think we might have time for one more question. If there's anyone else with a question for Derrick or Bo, or just an observation, something you want to share. Otherwise, I had one question for you, Derrick. Was it worth it? I think this is the question that everybody, or a lot of people, like to ask. You spent 60 days in jail. There's hundreds of days over your head that they're holding over you on a suspended sentence. Was it worth it?
I wouldn't trade this experience for anything. No, it was absolutely worth it. I wouldn't doubt that for a second. Even while I was in jail, I was so gleeful and smiley because I knew that this was exactly what I wanted to be doing. And so yes, it was worth it. And I hope that all of you enjoyed as well.
All right, so we're going to clean things up. Remember, as you're getting up, there is that wire going down the aisle, so be very mindful of that. Ashwellet Park. If you don't know where it is, it's right on the corner of Island Street and West Street here in Keene, just down the road, just a short bit. Daryl, I believe you've got sandwiches, chips, and drinks.
$3 bag lunch.
$3 for a bag lunch, sandwich, chips, and drink, or bring your own if you don't like that. We'll look forward to seeing you at Ashwellet Park, 12:15, the approximate start time. And thanks again for coming out to this movie premiere. I'm so glad that we could do this for you.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, Derrick.
You go into a restaurant, you gotta think about.
Okay.
Nice. You always do. Nice. Yay. Okay, well, M7, you won this one. I hope you enjoy. And those of you who watch the film at victimlesscrimespree.com, I send my best. This was an amazing premiere, and look at all these wonderful people who came out to attend on a Saturday morning. Can you believe it? This was great. So we're going to go to the park now, and we're going to enjoy some mingling and some sandwiches and drinks, and that should be an excellent time. So I just made it to the park, and we're walking inside. I just wanted to get some footage of some of the folks who are enjoying a picnic in the park this lovely day. Daryl is over here behind me, about to vend his wares.
How you doing? Yeah. You know good way.
Hey! Looks like Daryl's gonna vend some of his sandwiches. I just think this is a beautiful event. I'm really excited to be seeing all of these wonderful folks who are going to join me for some discussion and, oh man, just a good time. So here we are.
We'd like to invite you to visit freekeen.com. Freekeen.com features audio, video, and blogs chronicling the transition to a voluntary society. Freekeen.com also has comments and discussion forums so you can be heard. Freekeen.com.
I should be in Keene, New Hampshire with the Free Staters.